Alicia Gray pointed into the stands, her voice sharp, her face filled with frustration. Security rushed over as cameras caught the confusion. An Indiana Fever fan was suddenly being escorted out, bewildered, trying to understand what had just happened. In that moment, the entire playoff atmosphere shifted. What was supposed to be a night of pure basketball intensity turned into a storm of accusations, narratives, and damage control. The Atlanta Dream wanted the world to believe their star had been disrespected. They wanted the story to be about an insult from the crowd. But the story fell apart almost immediately. Fans inside the arena told a very different version of events. Security themselves later admitted that no line had been crossed. The so-called offensive fan. They were escorted out, only to be quietly brought back minutes later with an apology, and their seats wiped down for them. The alleged crime dissolved into nothing, and that's where the entire situation started to look less like fan misconduct and more like a player projecting frustration. Alicia Gray had struggled all night. She wasn't herself. And instead of channeling that energy into her game, she turned toward the crowd and escalated something that barely existed into a full-blown ejection. The optics couldn't have been worse. In a league already fighting for credibility, removing paying fans in the middle of a playoff game because of basic heckling became an embarrassment that spread like wildfire online. Eyewitnesses filled in the blanks. According to those sitting nearby, the fan hadn't shouted anything malicious at all. The supposed heckle was encouragement directed at Indiana's Lexi Hull. "You're good, Lex." She's not even trying anymore. A throwaway line in the middle of a tense game? Not vulgar, not threatening, just typical sports talk. Yet somehow, that single line was enough to send Gray into a spiral, waving down security and stopping play. If a player can't handle that level of energy in a playoff environment, what does that say about their mentality? Social media wasn't kind. Clips of the removal spread fast, paired with memes, commentary, and ridicule. Fans highlighted the fact that those removed were later brought back. A clear sign nothing serious had happened. Commentators called it unprofessional. Others labeled it a cheap attempt to distract from Atlanta's on-court collapse. And by the next morning, the consensus was clear. Alicia Gray had embarrassed herself and her team, while the Indiana Fever made history on the court. Because that's the part that really matters here. While the Dream were busy spinning a narrative in the stands, the Fever were writing their own on the scoreboard. For the first time since 2016, the Indiana Fever won a home playoff game. Not with Caitlin Clark on the floor. Not at full strength, but with grit, unity, and a crowd that refused to be silenced. Think about that contrast. On one side, a team unraveling, their star pointing fingers and scrambling for sympathy. On the other, a short-handed group of fighters, refusing to let adversity define them. The Fever entered Game 2 without Clark, without Sophie Cunningham, without several key rotation players. Their backs weren't just against the wall, they were practically buried under it. And yet they responded with urgency, aggression, and the kind of defensive focus that Atlanta simply couldn't match. Kelsey Mitchell lit it up from outside, raining down threes that punished every defensive lapse. Aaliyah Boston controlled the paint with footwork and strength that made Atlanta's bigs look helpless. Natasha Howard did the dirty work, bodying up on defense, diving for loose balls, and providing balance on both ends. Lexi Hull hit the dagger three at the buzzer to close the third quarter, sending Gainbridge Fieldhouse into absolute chaos. And even rookie Michaela Timpson rose to the moment, scoring 9 crucial points with composure that felt beyond her years. It was a full team statement. No excuses. No distractions. Just basketball. The Fever didn't need to point to the crowd for sympathy. They pointed to the scoreboard. And when the final horn sounded, that scoreboard read 77-60. A blowout. A humiliation for Atlanta. And the Fever's first playoff win in nearly a decade. Meanwhile, Alicia Gray became the face of distraction. Instead of stepping up for her team, she tried to step on fans. Instead of channeling the playoff moment, she cracked under it. The fans weren't the problem. The heckling wasn't the problem. The problem was that Indiana showed more toughness, more heart, and more professionalism in one night than Atlanta at all season. And that's the setup for Game 3, a Duarte showdown where one team has momentum, resilience, and unity, and the other is left scrambling to explain away their own collapse. The Fever already proved they can win without Clark. They already showed they can handle adversity. Now, the question is whether they can carry that same fire into Atlanta's building and finish the job. Because one thing is certain, the scoreboard never lies. If you believe in the Indiana Fever, drop a comment saying, "I've got the fever." And don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss what happens next. This story is far from over.